Good afternoon. I hope you're all well. I have two apologies to make. One is the fact that this is an impromptu thing, so I was roped in to do this less than an hour ago, so I apologise if it's a little random. And the second apology I have is for my upper lip. It is Movember, and I've decided to grow a moustache in aid of a couple of charities, so I look like a 1930s villain currently. So I apologise up front for that. And if I scare you, or you think I'm talking and wanting to take over the world, you're probably correct. So it's lovely to be here. I have no idea what you do or anything like that, so I'm just going to talk about what I talk about generally, which is chivalry. So I run a company called The Perfect Gentleman, and basically we teach men to be gentlemen, but our greater mission is to make the world a more respectful, stylish and gentlemanly place, and that covers business as well. But today we're talking about chivalry, and most people assume chivalry is about how men treat ladies, and that is what the modern definition of chivalry is. But unfortunately, people forget the history. And chivalry, or the chivalric code, is 1,000 years old. The chivalric code was written down in 1102 in a poem by a Frenchman, and the poem was called The Song of Roland. And it told a very tragic tale about a knight who went off and he lost his love in the crusade, but he had lots of honour. The chivalric code is basically this code of honour. And when people think about that time and knights and that period of time, the Middle Ages, people think about knights in shining armour and basically a lot of people hacking each other to death with swords. The chivalric code was not about that at all. The chivalric code was about looking after your fellow man, looking after women, respecting your opponent, and doing a good thing, basically. Of these 17 elements of the chivalric code that are written down, only 5 are about bashing your opponent with a sword. All the rest are about looking after your fellow man. So that's really fascinating for us as we go forward. So it's 1,000 years on, and we still live by those, or try to live by those key principles of, respecting others, looking after the less fortunate, treating your opponent with honour and respect. These things still to this day hold true 1,000 years later. So let's deal a little bit with chivalry as we know it today, and the bad reputation that probably chivalry seems to have these days. Chivalry, as we know it, as far as ladies are concerned, comes from the period of courtly love. So a little bit after the Song of Roland in about 1300s in Europe, they started to develop this courtly love. Basically, simply put, it was basically because there was a bunch of very young men who were all very testosterone driven, who had swords and ran around the country fighting each other. And then they'd be put up in castles of their nobles or opposing nobles, and there'd be lots of young ladies around. And they drank in those days, because we didn't drink water in those days, we drank beer as your standard drink. So they're drunk, they're armed, they're young, they're testosterone filled, and lots of bad things happened, as you can imagine. So they developed a set of rules for these men to adopt, so they didn't go and rape and pillage and misbehave and cause havoc across the castles and the countryside, which was the courtly love. These rules were developed to control these gentlemen and make them behave in this theatre of that time. So they had all these rules and regulations, and basically the rules were you were supposed to admire and put these ladies on a pedestal, so they didn't, you couldn't touch them, you just had to love them from afar. It was a beautiful thought, but unfortunately still these bad things happened occasionally, but that was the principle of courtly love. So if you've ever read King Arthur, or any have seen the King Arthur myths, it's about that, it's about the courtly love. The fact that Sir Lancelot admired Guinevere, the king's queen, from afar. Unfortunately, he took it a little too far, but there we go. Drunk men in medieval ages used to do that. So that's where the chivalric code, as we know it, comes from, the courtly love, and then it moved through. So the gentleman came about as we move forward. But did you know, ask you a question, can you guess when the first gentleman's handbook was written? Anyone got an idea when the first gentleman's handbook was written? Sorry? Victorian age? Earlier. Anyone else? Would you guess? The first actual written handbook for a gentleman was 1630. So 500 years ago, the first handbook was written down for the gentleman. And we've been adapting and processing it ever since. And in the Victorian age is when, as the gentleman mentioned, was when kind of most people assumed gentlemanliness existed. But why that was the case is we manufactured gentlemen. The British Empire was out there expanding the world, and they needed to expand the world with British people. So they built public schools, and manufactured little gentlemen to go out and rule the empire across the world and take place in the East India Company and all these other institutions. So we basically manufactured gentlemen as we manufactured automobiles or other things in that period of time. So that's why we now associate gentlemanliness with the Victorian era. But the gentlemanliness has been going on for 1,000 years. So you ask yourself, I'm waffling on about gentlemen and history, and why is that relevant today? Why is chivalry relevant today? Well, and specifically relevant to business, is because people forget the soft skills that people have. Soft skills in business are crucially important. I'll tell you a great story. One of my friends runs a PR company for the fashion industry. And she sold it to her young team as a management buyout, a young team of 20-somethings. She sold her PR company to these guys. And then they proceeded, over the year, she watched them, the company proceeded to go down in sales. And she kept going back and going, what's wrong? What's wrong? Why is it going down? It was a very established business, very established brand. They go, well, we're contacting everyone, and we're doing all the things we do. And then she suddenly realised that not one of them was going out and meeting a journalist or going and meeting a client. They were all doing things with social media and email, and there was no face-to-face contact going on at all between people. And that's the problem. People now are so stuck behind their screens. You know, you're sitting there with your mobile phone, and I watch people walk along the street like this and bump into people all the time, because they're so wrapped up in the bubble of their little social media world that they're not interacting with anyone. And these soft skills are so important and crucial for business, because at the end of the day, people buy from people. People engage with people. So you out there need to learn that these soft skills are so important to move forward. And I'm improving every day. I am no way a finished article. I am just learning myself. But the need for these soft skills, these codes of conduct, these behaviours, as we move forward in today's world, are more important. Schools don't teach them. Universities don't teach them. Business schools don't teach them. I've been through all these institutions, and not one of them taught me how to network correctly, or engage with someone over a lunch properly, or engage with someone over a conference properly, or do just soft skills like meeting someone in an event like this, striking up a casual conversation, and how you do that well without coming across like you're demanding a sales pitch, or coming across like you're trying to chat someone up, which is a frequent occurrence. So what we have to do is learn these soft skills. So chivalry comes back to these core soft skills of respect, of enjoying other people's company, looking after people, making other people feel at ease, and building those relationships over time. So these are the core things that make up chivalry in business. That is why chivalry is important in the modern age. And that is why there should be more gentlemen out there, and ladies, making chivalry a standout thing in business. That's me in 10 minutes, but I am more than happy to answer questions. So if anyone has a question, I am more than happy to answer. Yes. So what do I do company-wise? So Perfect Gentleman does two things. We are a media and education company. So we have an online magazine. We publish books. We do videos, how-tos, and all that sort of stuff. And then we run events and courses. So we go to corporations and teach people how to dress correctly and how to be a network correctly and do presentations like this. And then we also do events. So we do a 2-day event where we teach, and that's specifically for men, where we teach guys to dance in 2 hours. We do a live wet shave on stage. We run through a live date. We teach guys how to pick a suit. We teach guys Bartitsu, which is the gentleman's martial art. So if you've seen the Sherlock Holmes movie, Robert Downey Jr. uses that martial art in the movie. So that's kind of what we do. Anyone else? No, wait, thank you very much for your attention, and I hope today go out there and do a random act of chivalry for someone. Not a random act of kindness. Go help someone carry a bag, or open a door for someone, pay for someone's coffee, or anything like that. Go out and do something nice for someone. Sorry? That's not very chivalrous, I have to say. Pillaging is not very chivalrous. Neither of that bit is the non-chivalrous bit. So, yeah, simple, very simple. Yeah. So the French, so basically the English, so there's a Western European sort of code of conduct chivalry, and then we broke away from sort of, the British gentlemen broke away from the Western gentlemen in about 1300. I'm being really specific now, when Chaucer wrote in English for the first time, and he wrote a treatise on what it was to be a gentleman in England, as opposed to a gentleman in Europe. And then after the 100 Years' War, that's when the schism happened, and the French specifically, and sort of that bit of Western Europe, was very strict in its code of conduct, whereas the British gentlemen, English gentlemen, and the British gentlemen sort of deviated slightly and sort of adopted other things and kept modernising, whereas the French and Western Europeans was very rigid in its adaptation of the codes. They didn't sort of move with the times, as it were. And then the French gentlemen and Western European gentlemen died after the French Revolution, pretty much. Though I have to say, most of my French friends are incredibly gallant and chivalrous and gentlemanly. So, any other questions? Yes, please. It's very true. Yeah, it's very true. The lady was just saying, I would never ask if you don't. Look at it. The lady was just saying, for those who can't hear, the lady was just saying that a futurist was saying at another speech that soft skills will be increasingly more important because people are forgetting them. And I totally agree. I think they're increasingly more important. They make or break a career. The amount of times I've seen bosses with incredibly poor emotional intelligence and communication skills going down. It's very interesting to see the change that's going on in the world. Anyway, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon and enjoy yourself.